Bring your beach towel and put on your sunscreen because today we're headed to the village of Kirkuk, one of the most and least defined villages in Mystara. Kirkuk is the sample village given in the Ylaruam gazetteer. In fact, it's the only town given in any detail in the book. But the book didn't put the city on the map because it wanted you to make Ylaruam your own. This is one of the reasons why Ylaruam got the reputation as the fill-in-the-blank gazetteer, something TSR moved away from quickly in later source books. So what makes this jewel of the desert stand out? What's there to do, and where can you get a decent piece of babusa? Welcome to Mystara. I'm Mr. Welch, and today we're going camel shopping. Placing Kirkuk on the map isn't hard, because while the book is deliberately vague on an exact location, it's also pretty specific regarding the services available in the town. It's an important trading post with a permanent population of 400, and a temporary population of several times that. It's not located on the coast, but it was built on hills surrounding an oasis. It was occupied by the Fortifications in years past, with a crumbling fort all that remains of evidence of the occupation. While the book says put it anywhere you want, Thorfinn places the village in southern Ylaruam in the emirate of Dithastina. Kirkuk is now located almost dead center in the rolling foothills that make up Ylaruam north of the Altan Tepes Mountains. Kirkuk is an old settlement dating back centuries before Al-Khalim and the Phaeacian invasion. It was built around what would become the Well of the Faithful Prophet. All of the original buildings have long been since torn down and rebuilt. The oldest building in Kirkuk is called the Rubble, a long-abandoned fort left by the occupiers that the villagers have mostly torn down for its stone to construct other buildings. The Phaeacian wall still stands, which the villagers maintain, as it's too useful despite the original builders. The town is known for its graves, including the tombs of its original inhabitants. A series of caves dot the nearby hills, which the villagers have used to store the bodies of the deceased for centuries. Grave robbers have picked clean the older graves, nothing remains of the bodies of the original inhabitants. Due to the caravans that frequent Kirkuk every week, a large part of the town is devoted to supporting and providing services for visitors. The Zawiya is a dormitory for traveling clerics, available for use to anyone who follows the faith of Al-Khalim. The one service required of those staying at the Zawiya is that they must be ready to perform a free service at the nearby Sanctuary of Abundant Dreams. The Hospice of Habib ibn Rahula is a two-story inn with excellent service, though the mercurial owner burns through staff faster than you would expect. Traveler's Rest is a modest inn for reasonable prices. It's the more popular of the inns, not just for the lower prices, but the owners are also more pleasant to be around. The Merchanter's Caravansary is the newest inn in the town. It's overpriced and bland, but gets a lot of spillover business from the caravans. It's plagued by the beggars that swarm it when a large caravan arrives. The village hosts a bi-weekly market where locals and various caravans can peddle their wares to the many visitors to Kirkuk. In addition to fresh food from the nearby farms, the market is often swamped by anyone able to cook on the outside ovens. Visitors always welcome a home-cooked meal, even if it is usually overpriced. There's a dozen regular food vendors at the Kirkuk market, and they are never idle. There's a couple of coppersmiths and a dwarven weaponsmith that do a hefty business. You can find a new horse or camel for sale on the market's open days, but buying one there is frowned upon. If someone needs a new steed or a backup animal, everyone will tell you to seek out the animal traders at their regular place of business. The animals at the market are the ones they can't sell. The better quality horses and camels are sold outside of the market, straight from the vendor to the buyer. Before I go any further, let me tell you what makes Kirkuk special compared to similar villages like Threshold or Hamlet. That would be the sheer amount of information Ken Ralston poured into the village. Threshold gets 2/3 of a page in the description. Hamlet is a respectable 6 pages. Kirkuk gets a staggering 14 total pages of coverage. Glantry City, to compare, only gets 10 pages. A small village that doesn't appear on any map receives a more in-depth look than the capital of any nation in any gazetteer. Is it too much focus, considering this book is only 64 pages and no other city is touched on? Probably. But this isn't a review of Ylaruam's layout. This is a video on what you can find in Kirkuk. And that's actually quite a lot. As a major stopover on the southern Ylaruam trade routes, you're going to find many merchants, nomads, and travelers. Numerous tribes can be found here at various times of the year, and they are common enough sites to have their own camping ground set aside for them. The Duru tribe is a small tribe of minor importance, but has few problems with the townfolk or the other tribes. Because of their reputation for minding their own business, their youth sometimes leave to find a life of adventure. The Manahil tribe is the largest of the tribes common to Kirkuk, but not overly large. They are known for being aggressive and sometimes get into trouble with the town guard, but this is more out of boredom than actual hostility. The Ujman tribe is the smallest of the tribe and is falling apart due to poor leadership. Their Quadi, or leader, is a vain man who blames everyone else for his mistakes and, as such, is chasing all of his followers away. There is a 4th tribe, the Hammam, which are apparently an honorable and noble group of warriors, but that's all you get because they forgot to include the background on the tribe and skipped section 21 in the locations guide on page 43 and just started talking about their leader, who's apparently a real swell guy. And I'm guessing this oversight was never corrected in later editions. The things you notice taking a second look at a 3 decades old book. The village has little need for fortifications, but still maintains the walls and watchtowers left over from the Phaeacian occupation. There hasn't been a bandit raid in living memory, and the frequent patrols along the trade route keep any humanoids away. Neither the wall or the watchtower is in the best shape, but they're in decent enough conditions to serve the purposes of the Kirkuk townsfolk. If necessary, Kador the Mason can patch holes in the walls in a few days. The village Quadi has maintained the watchtower and keeps a permanent guard to look out for trouble. The tower does possess some magical properties left over from its creation, including staying warm during the winter, making an odd noise when struck as if it were hollow, even after years of neglect. These effects are more of a curiosity than a source of concern for the watchman stationed there, however. The Ylari government has a complete detachment of officials in Kirkuk because the Ylari really like their bureaucracy. Well, at least the Ylari bureaucrat. Mustafa ibn Ibrahim is the provincial secretary, and he is a Ylari's Ylari. Swarthy, handsome, chiseled features, a beard that is perfect in length, never too short or too long. When he wants to prove a point in an argument, a falcon will fly and land on his outstretched hand because he's just that awesome. He was an adventurer who had a bit too much fun in his youth and ended up hightailing it back to Ylaruam. There was this teensy-weensy misunderstanding about a dead Karamekan bandit that he had to go sort out. It happens. He's a superb leader. He's naturally charismatic, he's earned the respect of the local tribes, and prefers to tour his domain personally. His one downside is that he prefers the exciting option to more mundane, boring options, which drives the other bureaucrats insane. Serving alongside Mustafa is Murad the Makastani, a not-so-serious mufti, or police chief. He doesn't take his job seriously, which irritates other officials. But in the relatively quiet Kirkuk, he finds getting along with the locals is better than trying to intimidate them. Nizam al-Hazni runs the tax office and is probably the least popular man in all of Kirkuk. He does his job efficiently, but he's known to hold a grudge against people who annoy him. Remember, don't annoy the guy that can take all your money. Idris al-Kamil is in charge of the local water supply, and as such is one of the most influential men in all of Kirkuk. He's an incorrigible gossip and a bit of a conspiracy theorist as well. He's obsessed with finding the source of the contamination of the local spring, though he's only got about 20 ideas on the actual cause. And strangely enough, one of them is actually quite accurate. However, he doesn't know this. The village leader is Quadi Rahman of the Wahiba tribe, which makes up most of the townsfolk. Technically, he falls under the supervision of Mustafa, but the secretary leaves Rahman to take care of the day-to-day operation of the town. Rahman's father was given the duty of running Kirkuk by the emir for years of loyal service, and his father passed down this duty to Rahman. He runs the town competently and even performs Mustafa's duties for him when the secretary is out exploring the wilderness. In exchange, Mustafa sings Rahman's praises in all of his reports. Rahman is an impartial man, but he always maintains a veneer of courtesy. Like most cities in Ylaruam, the village depends on a single water source. Here, it's the well of the faithful prophet. This spring has supplied the town for water for centuries, but the water became tainted about a century ago. Left untreated, the water causes weakness and death in the space of a week. The villagers have gotten around this by digging 2 cisterns to hold water, and the local clerics cast purify spells as needed. It's not the best solution, but it has made the well a major religious site in Kirkuk. Idris would pay well to find the source of the pollution, but investigating the well will anger the clergy. If the characters can lift the curse spoiling the water, the clerics would get over it a lot faster. One thing Kirkuk is famous for, and not in a good way, is its beggars. They will immediately flank any visitors to Kirkuk as they enter the city, and are found along most major streets. There's no clearing them out. If one beggar is sent on his way, another one will replace him. Complicating this is the teachings of Al-Khalim dictate that the less fortunate must be cared for. So the beggars flock to the town to take advantage of the handouts given by the clerics. Bekir the leper is known as the leader of the beggars. He was a proud soldier until he was struck down by disease, but he has a keen mind and knows most of the city's secrets. Blind Musa is a scarred, insane invalid who rambles in an unknown language. He's considered a messenger of the immortals and is cared for by the local clerics. In reality, he's a powerful cleric under a diabolic curse placed upon him by an Ifrit. Anyone who understands the Ifrit's language would be able to talk with him. Berzerg the whiner is a typical beggar, but he always seems to be around wherever you look. He's actually the advance man of one of the local bad guys and is scouting the caravans to see who's ripe for raiding later. The book gives you a list of villains for Kirkuk, but most are more annoying than actually dangerous. You can't trust the horse trader to sell you a healthy horse, but he's not going to try to carve your heart out. The book lists the wizard Barrymore as a constant threat, but there's very little information on him other than he's building a large complex in the middle of the desert. Not much is known about the complex, only that he has a massive number of staff helping him, he needs the souls of children to complete his quest for immortality, and the complex, when finished, is going to be massive. Based on all the information provided, there's only one plausible solution for Barrymore's scheme. He's building the known Disney World. That's Kirkuk. There's actually a lot more information in the gazetteer about it, but it's mostly a detailed breakdown of Ylari customs and such. The information on the village is enormous. There's not much they didn't tell you except where it is. Despite Ylaruam not being one of the more popular gazetteers, you can't ignore the depth they went into on this simple village. Next week I'm going into a breakdown on the military of Alphatia, or why do they suck as bad as they do. But until next week, remember, chicks dig raptors.